Hi, this is Matthew to do another Rolling Stones review for their album, their Satanic Majesties Request. Yes, that's the name of the album title. It's kind of long. It is their foray into psychedelic stuff fully now. They went and did that. There were lots of complications with jail time and court dates with drug things and just people being on drugs and not really working much. People that shouldn't have been in the studio were there, and it caused their manager to leave them. I know Brian Jones is probably getting more erratic in his behavior. Unfortunately, a lot of things happening there. But they made this album. It's the first time, though, we have the same release as the UK here in the US. No differences. 10 tracks this time on this very unusual album. Lots of unusual sound, instruments, rhythms. Yeah, kind of interesting. I only knew like maybe 2, maybe 3 songs off of this thing. 2 for sure. One most definitely. One that's left off is I Love You. It's a single, or We Love You, sorry. It's a single that the Beatles were on. I think Paul and John for sure. I think they all might have been there. It was only a single. It's not on here. It's not on our album, though. They could have stuck it on. They didn't. London Records did not do it. Neither did Decca. So it is not on this. So it will show up in a couple of years, though, on a UK release, which I will get into later when we get to that stage. But I did look ahead a little bit. I wanted to make sure I could find a compilation that came out in '69. I found it, so I figured out there were 2 versions of it. Oh no, here we go again. But at least for that album, but that's in a couple of albums. I'll lump it in with it 2 albums from now. I'll lump it in with that one. And Alive. Oh yeah, that's this one. Very unusual stuff. But there's even some backwards guitars and all kinds of stuff going on. We'll go through it a little bit, though. Won't spend a ton of time. It's just a very weird album. It's definitely worth hearing. I don't know how most people would like it. I don't know. It's very unusual. And the stuff is definitely, you have to be in the mood to hear stuff like this. It's very experimental, very odd, unusual, strange, if you might say, stuff on here. Very interesting, though, especially in stereo, but and some people prefer the mono. Yeah, there's a 2-disc that's streamable that you can find. Disc 1 is the stereo, disc 2 is the mono. Makes it about 20 songs then. I used the stereo version of that 2-disc release. There is another version. Apple Music has at least it as a 10-song version, like the regular, I think just the stereo tracks by themselves. But yeah, that's that one, and we'll go through that and see what everybody played, because there's some unusual things happening. We have, for side 1, had the following: Sing This All Together, and then Citadel, In Another Land, which is a Bill Wyman thing, kind of sort of showing what they were up to. But I might have heard that one before. He sings on it. Credit to himself. He was kind of wary of all this psychedelic drugs things, but just, a lot of the band do not like this album overall. It's not a well-liked album by a lot of people. Different and interesting, but not one that people would want to hear over and over again. Bill Wyman, the only credits to himself, he was so kind of irritated with what was happening. 2000 Man, Sing This All Together, See What Happens, and then a little bit of called Cosmic Christmas, because it really was going to be called Cosmic Christmas, but they don't use it, but they do incorporate it. In South Africa, they didn't like the satanic parts. They just call it The Stones Are Rolling, is the album title for here in South Africa. It was The Stones Are Rolling. I don't know if it's still called that there. It was on vinyl, at least initially. Does anyone know? Is anyone from there? Just let us know if it's still called that. If you find it in South Africa anywhere, is it still called that, or is it the original title? And that is it for that side. And then side 2 She's a Rainbow, which is I really enjoy that. She's a Rainbow is a great track. I really like that song. Probably my favorite thing on here. The Lantern. And there's something called Gomper, Gomper. I think that was definitely an instrumental track, if I remember right. 2000 Light Years from Home, I know I've heard a time or two. But She's a Rainbow, I've heard in a few different places. I really enjoy that song. Probably my favorite thing, as I said, on here. And then we have On With The Show. And I believe track 5 has a beginning of a guy snoring. There's some other random clips from stuff. I don't know what it all came from. Maybe it will give some insights here. I don't know. I didn't see anything before the track listing. Backwards things. We have tape loops. We've got all kinds of drums and instruments and just really unusual things. Dissonant notes. Kind of sounds like a free jazz album in a way at times. If you've heard any free jazz or kind of avant-garde jazz from this period, it kind of reminds me of that in places. Just people, let's try this. We'll put this on and we'll do this. Just not a lot of direction almost at times, but considering that none of the band were there at the same time half the time, courts and jail times, and other people that were band members just running around the studio. So the fact that it got made at all is a miracle. They produced it themselves. No one would help them. Their manager was already gone. They'll get a new one by the next album, though. They'll have a new guy, and they'll be back to their regular stuff. But yeah. Let's see what we see of our personnel. Mick Jagger, lead vocals, backing vocals, percussion, maracas, tambourine. Keith Richards, electric guitar, backing vocals, acoustic guitar, bass guitar, and Brian Jones, a mellotron, saxophone, vibraphone, a Jew's harp, and a flute, and an organ, electric, a dulcimer, which I didn't know that was a thing, and a recorder, backing vocals, and a harp. So that's cool. Yeah, the mellotron is what they used on Strawberry Fields with the Beatles. It worked off of like a tape that you played, but you had like effects, but you played from a tape somehow, and they sound cool as anything. They're huge. They're very hard to work. Tapes would break. They would melt. All kinds of problems. There is a video on YouTube. If you just type in mellotron, there's a lady showing, I guess they repair and restore instruments, and they're restoring a mellotron. Fascinating. It's a British lady, probably younger than I am, and that's even as a few years ago. It is fascinating to watch. If you want to learn, just go YouTube mellotron, and see how they worked. They're neat little things, but they were complicated. But I love the sound of mellotrons, and I thought I heard them, and I was correct. There's some mellotron on this album. Bill Wyman, bass guitar and organ and backing vocals and an oscillator, which I think they use for gets in Morse code keyers and things. Charlie Watts drums and a tabla, which is an Indian drum. Okay, I did hear that too, yeah. Additional people, we have Nicky Hopkins on piano and organ and a harpsichord. So he's back. John Paul Jones, yes, Led Zeppelin's John Paul Jones doing string arrangements. I forget what band he was in at that point. I've forgotten now. If he was he still in the Yardbirds? I forget. Yeah, if you hear the strings, that's John Paul Jones, who did organ and bass and stuff for Led Zeppelin later on. Ronnie Lane and Steve Marriott on backing vocals. Eddie Kramer. Oh, claves? Oh, yeah, those little Latin instruments. Others including Marianne Faithfull and... Oh, probable backing vocals, I see. So we do not have... The other two people from the other albums are not here. Ian Stewart and I've spaced on the other guy's name. They're not on this. First time ever, they are not on here. That's unusual. Yeah, very interesting album. I like the stereo, but I always prefer stereo over mono, but you can take your pick on the one release. Probably would be more interesting if you're on substances that, you know, they would have used at the time, or other things that I don't do, so I don't recommend that, but I know some people probably are, but perhaps it's more meaningful on other things that I don't partake of. But it was a very interesting album anyway, sound-wise and playing-wise, just different stuff happening. Go check it out. Little, very unusual album that they, you know, go back to what they normally do after this, but interesting. Stop off into something very different that they had been building to, and they finally went for, because of Sgt. Pepper and other people doing the same thing. They decided, hey, let's do that as well, and they did. To mixed results, I suppose, for some people. Some people really like it. A lot of people don't like it. The band don't really like it much. Those who are still around for it don't care for it. They only ever did She's a Rainbow and 2,000 Miles from Home anyway, live. That's one they tend to go back to. She's a Rainbow's been in some ads and things. I've heard it in some shows and things. It's been used a lot of places. I really like that song, but if you pick one song, pick that one. That's a really good track. But the other stuff is also very interesting, but that's my favorite. This one will be a little short just because there's nothing else in between times to talk about on this one. 2 albums from now, there will be a compilation and a live I'll put in after the album itself and mention some things about. There won't be any new tracks, just some there's a UK and US version that there'll be some different tracks on that it's kind of interesting to see what they picked. But yeah, that'll do it for now. Then we'll move on to 1968 next time for Beggar's Banquet is the next one, with some really good songs. Really, really changes what they're doing and how they sound and what they're up to. Definitely more angry, more political, more protesty type stuff next time, with what was happening in the country and the world, and here and there and other places. So we'll get to that next time. But at the moment, I will see you guys in another video.